Hello, my name is Dr. Robert Sarhan. I presented my first video on May 14th, 2020, where I explained about probate court judges, attorneys, and guardians are running a racketeering enterprise right out of the judges' chambers, committing crimes of racketeering, extortion, fraud, and murdering our parents after isolating them and stealing their estates. On September 30th, 2010, the Government Accountability Office stated that these probate judges, elder law attorneys, and professional guardians are stealing between $500 billion and to $1 trillion per year from the American families and killing our parents. They are killing our parents with a high dose of Seroquel after the estates have been stolen. My mother, Yvonne Sarhan, was killed with a high dose of Seroquel, like many thousands of mothers and fathers, every year while in guardianships. My May 14th, 2020 video link is below. In this presentation today, I'm going to show you a video of a United States Senator Richard Blumenthal admitting that these judges are making a ton of money in these guardianship cases, and these judges are running these guardianship cases like they are the Mafia Godfathers. On November 28, 2018, at 2:30 p.m., in the Special Committee on Aging, the link for the entire hearing is below, where Senator Richard Blumenthal stated, and these judges are essentially beyond any oversight, and very often they have their own fiefdoms, literally their own private kingdoms. They make a ton of money, Senator Blumenthal stated. Blumenthal uses the term fiefdoms, where the guardianship cases are run like Mafia Godfathers. Please watch the video.
Very much, Madam Chairwoman. This topic is immensely important. Many of us in this room will encounter this situation. In Connecticut, guardianship or conservatorship decisions are made by a local probate court judge who is elected and need not be a lawyer. I don't know how often that occurs elsewhere in the country, but these judges are essentially beyond any oversight. And very often, they have their own fiefdoms, literally, their own private kingdoms. They make a ton of money. So I gather from the applause that many of you are familiar with these situations. Maybe you have been, in a sense, involved in them. I hear from my constituents all the time. We're carrying on this conversation at a very high level of abstraction. But the impact on lives, real-world situations, is enormous. And I say that as a lawyer in Connecticut who has never handled a guardianship or conservatorship case. But I think we need to figure out a way to assure greater accountability in this system.
Well, according to Senator Blumenthal, he said that the judges are making tons of money, but I think what he really wanted to say was the judges are stealing tons of money, and they're stealing it through guardian fees, because judges are not paid on a case-by-case basis. Judges get a salary of in Connecticut, about $146,000 a year. These judges are robbing our parents of their life, their liberty, their property, including stripping them of their civil rights, essentially making them have the same rights as a slave, which is no rights. Our parents are denied due process, denied equal protection of law, denied their own attorney. When we fight, adult children fight for the freedom of their parents, we use our money to fight for our parents, and they use our mother and father's money to fight us. These are massive human rights violations that have been going on for the past 40 years, and our congressmen and senators do nothing but turn a blind eye to these crimes. Senator Blumenthal submitted a bill to President Trump to sign in 2017. It said nothing about judges, attorneys, and guardians committing these crimes. In the bill, Senator Blumenthal talks about the Government Accountability Office and asking them to do more studies. But in September 30th, 2010, the Government Accountability Office already did the study. Okay? And it said that the judges, attorneys, and guardians are stealing between $500 billion and $1 trillion a year from the American people. Senator Herb Kohl, who was chairman of the Aging Committee in September 30th, 2010, did nothing. We can go back to 1987, where Congressman Claude Pepper wrote, "Guardianships of the elderly and infirm, a national disgrace." What did our congressmen and senators do? Nothing. The Associated Press did a story in 1999 of 2,000 victims in guardianship. Our congressmen and senators do nothing. In 1999, an attorney did his thesis on guardianships, and he called it Guardianships in America, a Crisis of Constitutional Proportion. And he stated that the initiation procedure into a guardianship is nothing more or less than a mockery of justice and a violation of fundamental rights. It is not only our probate courts judges. There is widespread corruption throughout our state, federal, bankruptcy courts, and appellate courts, all the way into the United States Supreme Court. Judges steal homes and foreclosure cases. Judges take children in child custody cases from good parents. But now these good parents have to go out and spend their hard-working money to fight for the freedom of their children. In guardianship cases, adult children like myself spend our entire nest egg fighting for the freedom of our parents while they use our mother or father's money to fight us. Judge John Fitzgerald Malloy wrote a book called The Fraternity, Lawyers and Judges in Collusion. So in this book, he's stating that, hey, I'm looking down at the lawyers that I went to school with. This is the fraternity among lawyers that become congressmen, they become senators, they become governors, and they become presidents, and they become U.S. attorney generals. Okay, so this fraternity is so strong that these senators and congressmen have forgot about the oath they took to protect the American people. Just for you to know that the oath that these senators take, it says here, "I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will faithfully discharge these duties of office on which I'm about to enter. So help me God." Each one of these senators knows what's going on in these courts. They know that our families are being ripped apart. Our lives are being destroyed, and they do nothing. When George Floyd was murdered by police officers, I watched and tears came from my eyes. And I kept saying, "Get off him," and could not believe such inhumane treatment. Then I thought about my mother and all the mothers and fathers that were murdered by judges, attorneys, and guardians. And instead of putting a knee in my mother's neck, they forced her to take 2,000 milligrams of Seroquel to stop her heart. George Floyd ended up in the same place as my mother. How many times have police officers killed African-American men in this country, and the police officers go free? Injustice after injustice. How many more George Floyds must die before the brutality and hatred stops permanently? How many more mothers and fathers have to die before our money-hungry, heartless congressmen and senators abolishes guardianship laws that are unconstitutional and only benefit the judges, attorneys, and guardians, and do not benefit we the people, the elderly, and the vulnerable? We the people need to stand together. We do have to get out. We don't have to get out and burn buildings downtown or break store windows. But I understand why It is due to frustration. An African-American man walks from one side of the street in handcuffs, was not fighting back, was doing what the officer wanted him to do, cooperating with the police officer, and about 9 minutes later, George Floyd's life would be taken due to asphyxia after being pinned down for 9 minutes with a police officer's knee into George Floyd's neck. We the people must take back our country, which has been stolen by our corrupt congressmen and senators. They have made laws to protect the fraternity among lawyers. We must join together as one and file a lawsuit together till we get justice. Please join together. We are stronger in numbers. The laws that we want passed. Abolish guardianship laws. They are unconstitutional. You can't strip people of their civil rights because they grow older, and you make them more vulnerable. No immunity for judges or anyone. No one is above the law. Immunity breeds corruption. We, the people, order the FBI to arrest these judges, attorneys, and guardians for killing our parents and the theft of our estates. This is our country. We pay the FBI, and they don't do their job. We need to stick together to file lawsuits. We will do the work. You give us a synopsis of your case. If the FBI does not go out and arrest these judges, attorneys, and guardians, then we have a right to file a lawsuit against the FBI for not doing their job. We need a special designated office. This office is not going to be run by lawyers. When you have a problem with a judge in a court, whether it's state or federal, you contact this office and we suspend the judge right then and there in that particular case. If he violates your constitutional rights or violates the law or you see corruption, that's it. We shouldn't have to pay $5,000 or $10,000 for an appeal. Okay? And we have the law on our side. So we have to have a special office to protect the people. If a prosecutor lies, they say that there's 1 in 9 people on death row. There's that are innocent. How did that happen? Unless the prosecutor lied, cheated, or did something wrong. So if a prosecutor lies, you call this office, they suspend that prosecutor because we need to protect we the people. Jail for judges. In Pennsylvania, there was a case called Cash for Kids in Pennsylvania. 2 judges were forcing teens into jails and getting kickbacks. Some of the children committed suicide. However, it took years to get them off the bench and prosecute them because they are so highly protected. They should have been removed immediately. Just as a police officer in George Floyd case. He's been reprimanded 20 times. He shouldn't even have been a police officer. Judges are not above the law. 20 years mandatory prison sentence for violation of constitutional rights, which is treason against our Constitution. When a judge violates your constitutional rights, he does it for a reason, because he's dirty. And this is one of my favorites. There will be no ruling of per curiam at the appellate court level. The per curiam ruling is the backbone of appellate corruption. We all have a list of federal and state judges we want fired for crimes of racketeering, extortion, fraud, and murder. And everyone that lost their parents or loved ones wants justice. We're not going to get justice unless we file lawsuits together in one lawsuit. We have the strength in numbers. Please join together. No matter what differences we have, we all want the same outcome. Some of us have lost a lot of money. Some of us are well off, but it shouldn't matter because the bottom line is we all want justice. And the last thing I want to say that Hubert Humphrey said, President Hubert Humphrey, it was once said the moral test of a government is how that government treats those who are in the dawn of life, the children, those who are in the twilight of life, the elderly, and those who are in the shadows of life, the sick, the needy, and the handicapped. Thank you for listening to this very serious problem facing everyone in this country. Please go to the link below and sign our petition, and let us all work together as one. We are the fraternity of we the people, and must protect our American families and get justice. Thank you, and God bless America.